Hello, it's Brother Drew, a YouTube philosopher, and we continue with sacrifice as a concept. And in our last episode, I said that I was going to talk about how if God were to start over, and he's going to start over because man made the mistake of disobeying his rule and screwing things up, and screwing them up in such a way that now God has to intervene and curse the ground. He's got to kill an animal and provide covering for the nakedness of these creatures called humans. And they're bearing God's image. But for some reason, the image became marred in such a way that in order for God to deal with man, he has to cover them with something. He's covering them, but in covering them, he's killing an animal. And so he's sacrificing an animal because here it was, these human beings, in trusting the words of another created being instead of relying on the Creator and what he said. Our allegiance has shifted now to a created being who's also depending on God for his sustenance. But why would we, kind of being on the outside looking in, why would these human beings believe this creature over God? This creature stepping into this created realm called the garden. And he's talking to these beings, Adam and Eve. And in the discussion, he challenges, one, God's authority. He's challenging the rule God set up for Adam and Eve to follow. And he challenges the intent, the purpose of why God told these creatures that in the day that you eat this fruit, you shall surely die. Now, Adam didn't really need to know what death is other than it's a bad thing. And so God basically is giving them a hint of badness by, letting them know, look, stay away from this tree. Don't eat of this tree. He didn't say stay away from the tree, but he basically told Adam and Eve that this particular tree, the fruit on the tree, is not to be consumed. It's not to be eaten by you. It's not to be received as nourishing and healthful to the body. So why would we not believe God when here it is, he's basically shown and demonstrated in the earlier part of the story that he was the creator. God actually made things in front of Adam so Adam could witness and understand, wow, God is wonderful. And wow, he's my creator. He's placed and created this world. He's made this world for me to live and to exist in. And he's also established a relationship of communication back and forth. He's enabled me to talk. He's enabled me to see. He's enabled me to taste, touch, feel. And he's also given me this added dimension of being able to relate to him in a relationship. So he also has given us the power to have relationships with others, and he's been able to do that when he created Adam and Eve. when he created Eve to be with Adam. But he also has made it very clear that there are other beings that God made that also have the power to communicate and the power to relate. And this being known as the serpent, he comes into the garden and he's ready to challenge God's authority. He's ready to challenge his purpose. And he's really ready to take the position of God as leader over these creatures called man and woman. And we can see when we study the book of Ezekiel that this is in fact what the devil had intended in his heart, and he intended to be like the Most High, and he did it on account of pride. He was so well created. He was so beautiful in being made by God. God really made this being just phenomenal to look upon. And he gave this being talent because he was in a very high-ranking position in the chambers of heaven. But the long and the short of it is, if God had really intended for us to remain creatures whereupon which we've made this mistake, and he says, you know, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and erase this thing called man, the world, and start over. It would have impugned God in his righteousness, because you got to remember back at the beginning of the story, when he created heaven and earth, he declared all these things to be good. When he brought man into the situation, man wasn't quote unquote declared good, because there was going to be a potential for this creature to possibly not do good. And if he's not going to do good voluntarily and freely, then God has to have a plan to make right what potentially is going to go wrong. Like if I set up a situation whereupon which my wife has the freedom to choose to do good or to do that which is not good, that is a situation of love. And it's really a good situation of love when she understands, based on all that had gone before, was good. Like, for example, if I choose to start interacting with a woman and I'm attracted to her, I find her just so beautiful. She's so beautiful. I want to be around her. I want to spend time with her. I want to do things with her. And here it is. I'm working. I'm making my money. I got my house. I got my car. I got my clothes. And I have my money. And here it is. I've worked. It's the end of the week. I got my days off. And I'm making my call. Hey, baby girl, what's going on? I'd like to spend some time with you this weekend. Can we get together? So now here it is. We get into this interaction. We start dealing with each other. And wow, you know, she's starting to like these interactions. And she likes them so much that she starts talking about taking the relationship to another level. Okay, so she wants to take the relationship to another level, to a new dimension. And this dimension is going to be exclusive relation to this man. And so here it is, she's responding to all of these good and wonderful things that the man had done up to that point. And now she wants it. I want to be married. I want to become your wife because you're good. You've done nothing but good during this thing called the courtship. And so you get married. And now here it is, for some reason, the relationship becomes stressed because now we're going to deal with a little adversity. And the adversity can manifest itself in so many different ways. It can manifest itself in meeting other couples, whereupon which the woman is noticing that, this married couple seems to have more financial benefit, more property, more freedom to travel, in contrast to the little that she sees in her possession. So it gets to a point where now she's becoming a little dissatisfied with her situation, and now she is being drawn away by this lust of the eye. And so she gets a temptation. And the temptation may be as subtle as this other man having a conversation with the woman, and he makes maybe a subtle advance towards her in basically saying, "Oh, you're such a beautiful woman. If you were my wife, it would just be so wonderful, for us to enjoy all of these things that I have, that I'm enjoying with this woman that you see as my wife. But it's quite possible that you and I can partake and enjoy these things together because I like you. I just find you so interesting and attractive." But the thing is, the only thing he's looking at is trying to get in that intimate relationship of sex with her because he's drawn to see this man who has this wife, this beautiful wife, this looks different from his own wife. He's dissatisfied now with his wife because maybe his wife is 10 years older than, his companion's wife, or his wife just looks physically more attractive. Maybe she has bigger breasts. Maybe she has longer hair. I mean, anything you want to say. And we see in the Bible, there was a story just like this with David and Bathsheba. David had a loyal servant who was a leader in his military. And his servant was out on the battlefield, or he was out and he came home. No, he was out on the battlefield. He was out on a mission. And while he was out on this mission, David happened to spy his wife. Uriah the Hittite, that was the husband to the wife of Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. And while Uriah was out being a faithful, honorable military officer to David, Bathsheba's at home, and King David, he spies her bathing at her home, and he basically calls Bathsheba forth to visit him at his king chambers. And ultimately, he ends up having sex with this woman, and then he does a scandalous thing. He tries to set up Uriah, and he does set up Uriah to be killed in battle. And so he's drawn away by his own lust. But the thing was, Uriah had only one woman that he cherished and valued. But King David had the opportunity to have whoever he chose because he was the king. And who wouldn't want to be with the king? Who wouldn't want to be the wife of a king, the leader, the preeminent man in this society? So it's at a point where, and I know I've kind of given all these little examples of how things get wrecked, but God basically set up a situation whereupon which, when things went wrong, he could have easily had destroyed everything, but that would not have really worked, because we see in another story where God has done good to the Hebrews coming out of the land of Egypt. And in doing all these great miraculous things, these people became entitled. They felt they were entitled to all of these, these philanthropic gestures of provision that God had made for them wandering in the desert. And God just said, you know what, I'm going to let these folks I'm going to kill them off, game over, and that's it. And Moses basically said, no, you can't do that, God. Because now, if you do that, these other people will see that you're capricious and you really don't have the power to really deal with these people and get them to love you. And so that was the challenge, and that was something that, in having this conversation revealed between Moses and God, that we see, because God basically says, you're right, Moses, that I can't do this, because this is not what a true loving God does. He works it out, and in working it out, we see things that we don't necessarily understand, but that's where faith comes in. The faith comes in that you see God and you know that he's good and you can trust what he's done. And it's at a point that it's really not a leap of faith. It's a step in the right direction, because you know that he's already done so much good that there's no reason why, in him telling you to do this, that you should even have even the slightest reservation of believing that this is going to work out to your benefit. So I'm going to make another video after this one, and we're going to actually look at some cases that today are being brought to my attention, in that many women now are saying that they want to be alone and that it's better for them to be alone, but being alone for them is truly better, because they have no other option, because they're so wicked. So I hope that this video and the ones that's going to come will get people to think clearly, and get a blessing. So with that, I depart. I look forward to hearing your comments, and if you like the video, please press the like button, and if you feel that these videos are going to be a blessing, subscribe, because I'm going to continue to make more in the future. Peace to you all.